Hello, brovs. This is my book haul for the day. Most of these books came from Bookstock, Livonia's annual mega sale, which to me is overrated. I mean, it's got some good books, but for $4 per hardcover, and this one I didn't get there, but a trade paperback's also $4. The only thing that's relatively inexpensive are mass markets, which are $2. But to me, I can get mass markets for 50 cents any day. And to somebody who doesn't have a lot of books, the difference between 50 cents and $2 probably ain't a lot. But to me, I can find the common book of the Canterbury Tales or Paradise Lost anywhere, honestly. I mean, I can't find them at will, but I will find them at some point. This book I got for 10 cents at the library. Social Darwinism in American Thought by Richard Hofstadter. Almost everywhere in Western civilization, though to varying degrees according to intellectual traditions and personal temperaments, thinkers of the Darwinian era seized upon the new theory and attempted to sound its meaning for the several social disciplines. Anthropologists, sociologists, historians, political theorists, economists were set to pondering what, if anything, Darwinian concepts meant for their own disciplines, and if a great many intellectual gaucheries were committed in the course of this search for the consequences of Darwinism. I believe that there were gaucheries to which we should be prepared to extend a certain measure of indulgence. The social Darwinian generation, if we may call it that, was a generation that had to learn to live with and accommodate to startling revelations of possibly sweeping import, and neither the full meaning nor the limits of these revelations could be found until a great many thinkers had groped about, stumbled, and perhaps fallen in the dark. Yeah, 10 cents. Indubious Battle by John Steinbeck. This book was a quote to Salinas. Isn't that where Steinbeck was based out of Salinas? Or am I making that up? What year was this one? Probably 36 or something. 40. No, it was originally published in 36. So it was not wrong, but this is the 40 edition. Speaking of Paradise Lost, there it is. Innumerable force of spirits armed that durst dislike his reign, and me preferring his utmost power, with adverse power opposed in dubious battle on the plains of Evan, and shook his throne. What though the field he last? All is not lost. The unconquerable will and study of revenge, immortal hate, and courage never to submit or yield, and what is else not to be overcome. Paradise Lost. I've read a couple. Well, I guess I haven't really read anything by Steinbeck. I've started to read a few books, and I was just like, this is butter churning bullshit. But I do have a vinyl record of his Johnny Bear, and what else is on there? But I found his record with his spoken voice on them was pretty good, the short stories. At last it was evening. The lights in the street outside came on, and the neon restaurant sign on the corner jerked on and off, exploding at its hard red light. I mean, come on, is that some sexual innuendo there? Exploding its hard red light in the air into Jim Nolan's face. Fuck Jim Nolan. This one I paid more than 10 and 25 for at the library. Haunted Florida Love Stories. Probably shouldn't have got it, but I got it. I don't have any intention of ever going to Florida again. Used to go there yearly, but I don't really like it there, other than the warm weather. Whoa. Selections from the Writings of Kierkegaard, translated by Lee M. Hollander. May sell this book, even though I like Kierkegaard, especially his book. What else is it called? No, I can't think of it. Purity of Heart. Purity of heart is to will one thing. Is there anything even from there? No, there isn't. Purity of heart is to will one thing, bruv. Selections from the Writings of Kierkegaard. Creditable as have been the contributions of Scandinavia to the cultural life of the race in well nigh all fields of human endeavor, it has produced one thinker of the first magnitude, the Dane Soren A. Kierkegaard. It is the purpose of this book to provide, through a selection of his most representative works, a stimulus for a more detailed study of his writings. Right. Satan Says by Sharon Olds. I don't know if this is actually about Satan, but look at Sharon, Jesus Christ. Few first books have had a power of the vigor of design of Sharon Olds' as Satan Says. Marilyn Hacker described it as a daring and elegant first book. This is a poetry which affirms and redeems the art. Hugh Seidman wrote, I am simply astonished in poem after poem. It is pure talent. Let's read this first one and see how talented it is. It's a talented wine. Station. Coming in off the docks after writing, I approached the house and saw your long, grandy face in the light of a lamp with a parchment shade, the color of flame, an elegant hand on your beard. Your tapered eyes found me on the lawn. You looked as the Lord looks down from a narrow window, and you are descended from lords. Calmly, with no hint of shyness, you examined me, the wife who runs out on the dock to write as soon as one child is in bed, leaving the other to you. Your long mouth, flexible as an archer's bow, did not curve. We spent a long moment in the truth of our situation. The poem's heavy as poached game hanging from my hands. I mean, that's fucking rubbish. Let's be honest. That ain't good. I mean, maybe Satan says something else in there, but that ain't fucking what's what. Barometer. Being a woman whose elder sister abandoned the child, dropped her mid-journey, left her like a husband. I am not like other mothers. At night, I go into my daughter's room and listen to the cool, creaking cistern of her breath. I go into my son's, the cricket still safe in his throat, his chest. I wish I could stand over my own bed and listen to my breathing to know what weather's coming. My God, that is just fucking a wellspring of genius poetry. Indictment of senior officers. In the hallway above the pit of the stairwell, my sister and I would meet at night. Eyes and hair, dark bodies like twins in the dark. We did not talk of the two who had brought us there like generals for their own reasons. We sat buddies in wartime, her living body, the proof of my living body, our backs to the vast shell hole of the stairs down which we would have to go, knowing nothing but what we had learned there. So that now when I think of my sister, the holes of the needles in her hips and in the creases of her elbows and the marks from the latest husband's beatings and the scars of the operations, I feel the rage of a soldier standing over the body of someone sent to the front lines without training or a weapon. What blather. Yeah, I'm selling this one. That's fucking rubbish. Now this is fucking poetry. The poems of Catullus. Let me find a good one there, bro. Fucking Catullus. I mean, paper that's printed on. Lesbia Sparrow. My beanpot boat you see here, friend. I mean, even Catullus' bad poems are better than that. But we'll find one of his. There we go. This is a good one. This was a body, little ditty. Number 58, Lesbia. Ah, Lesbia, the same old Lesbia. Callias, she whom Catullus loved once, more than himself and more than all his own, loiters at the crossroads, and in the back streets, ready to toss off the magnanimous sons of Rome. Jerking them off, if you don't know what that means. There we go. Number 51. Catullus, God like the man who sits at her side, who watches and catches that laughter which softly tears me to tatters. Nothing is left of me each time I see her. Tongue-numbed, arms, legs melting on fire. Drumming in cars, headlights gone black. Her ease is your sloth, Catullus. You itch and roll in her ease. Former kings and cities lost in the valley of her arm. Oh, elegant whore. With the remarkably long nose, unshapely feet, lackluster eyes, fat fingers, wet mouth, and language not of the choicest. You are, I believe, the mistress of the hell-rake Formianus, and the province calls you beautiful. They set you up beside my Lesbia, O generation witless and uncouth. This, friends. See if we can find one more. Men always love an honest whore. Is that what that one is? Men always praise an honest whore. Keen for the price of what she proposes to do. But to promise and break promise, frequently taking and never giving, proves the woman Orphalina inimical to men. Keep either your words or your modesty intact. Perform what you offer, or don't make the offer at all. To take a fraudulent payment proves you worse than the tot who avariciously prostitutes herself with every part of her body. Joy of my life, you tell me this, that nothing can possibly break this love of ours for each other. God, let her mean what she says from a candid heart, that our two lives may be linked in their length, day to day, each to each, in a full bond of sacred fidelity. Do you really believe I could blacken my life. The woman dearer to me than my two eyes. If I could, I should not be sunk in this way in my love for her, who performs a zoo of chew-backed beasts daily with Tapo. Lesbia loads me night and day with her curses, Catullus always on her lips. Yet I know that she loves me. How? I equally spend myself day and night in assiduous execration, knowing too well my hopeless love. I hate and I love, and if you ask me how, I do not know. I only feel it, and I am torn in two. There's one more good one somewhere. Reason blinded by sin, Lesbia. A mind drowned in its own devotion, come clothed in your excellences. I cannot think tenderly of you, so sink to what acts you dare. I can never cut this love. There was a time, Lesbia, when you confessed only to Catullus in love. You would set me above Jupiter himself. I loved you then, not as men love their women, but as a father his children, his family. Today I know too well, and desire burns deeper in me, and you are more coarse, more frivolous in my thought. How, you may ask, can this be? Such actions as yours excite increased violence and love, Lesbia, but with friendless intention. Lesbia says she'd rather marry me than anyone, though Jupiter himself came asking, or so she says. But what a woman tells her lover in desire should be written out on air and running water. This guy's was a genius. He's got about 10 poems that are world class. The rest are just, well, those are the ones that survive. Who knows how many more he had? All right, that's enough. Counterclockwise, a novel by the author Mary J. Maud, author of The Snake Pit. Just what is mental illness to those who suffer from it? When Susan Wood, author of the best-selling novel Hideaway, and an inveterate campaigner for proper hospital treatment of the mentally sick, suffers a relapse and return to the hospital, she experiences all the uncertainty and the stress mental illness entails. However, in place of the awful state hospital she was incarcerated in, when first she fell ill, Susan Wood this time is sent to Lawton Psychiatric in Chicago. There she gradually recovers her health, despite several setbacks, both amusing and tragic. Anyway, I think I'm going to read this book. Since there weren't many copies on eBay, I will read this one on the channel at some point. The faith of a heretic. What can I believe? How should I live? What do I hope? The faith of a heretic. Walter Kaufmann. 20 years ago or so, this book is worth $50-$60. But it has fallen to the $10 to $15 range. The attrition of too many sellers. The faith of a heretic. This is a modern attempt to answer the timeless questions. What can I believe? How shall I live? What may I hope? Since Kant first suggested that all the interests of reason are focused in problems of this sort, most philosophers have shied away from the big questions to become specialists in logic, history, or questions of meaning. This book represents a philosopher's attempt to deal with the quest for honesty, with commitment, theology, suffering, the Bible, organized religion, morality, and death. Walter Kaufmann makes use of his philosophic training. He was a Nietzsche scholar. Messianism, mysticism, and magic, a sociological analysis of Jewish religious movements. By Stephen Sharott. Just the magic portion of it sold me, since I have another book called, the hell's it called? Something about Jewish mysticism and magic. I've got 2 copies that I actually bought at the same place last year at the Bookstock in Livonia. Messianism, mysticism, and magic is based on the premise that a link can be made between social conditions and religious phenomena. It is the first sociological analysis of Jewish millenarianism. I don't know how to say that. Millenarian and mystical movements from the Middle Ages to the present, with concepts and perspectives drawn from sociology and anthropology. Stephen Sharott analyzes a wealth of topics, including millenarian outbursts, the Sabbatian movement, Hasidism, Reform Judaism, revolutionary socialism, Zionism, and the relationship between religion and magic. Don't know if they mean magic as the way I think it, but we shall look into this now. I believe that a lot of Jews were accused as witches, Italian Jews. No, they were really Italian Jews. Guess it makes sense. What the hell's the fucking magic potion here? I don't know. I'll get to it. Oh, religion and magic. Here we go. Religion and magic. Before analyzing popular Jewish religious movements in the medieval and early modern periods, it is necessary to describe the religious context in which they arose. The past tense will be used throughout. Although many of the beliefs and practices are widespread among Jews today, what are far less prevalent today are the beliefs and practices of what may be termed the folk religion, those religious beliefs and practices that fell outside the compass of the rabbinically recognized texts and rituals. A distinction between folk and official Judaism cannot, however, be made too sharply, for Judaism had no coordinating and sanctifying central authority that bound all Jews to a clearly demarcated system of beliefs and practices. The synagogue was a place of prayer, study, and assembly, but unlike the church, it was not an agent of religious control. Each local Kabbalah, the semi-autonomous Jewish community organization, was able to impose sanctions for religious deviance, but in religious matters, most communities and rabbis were independent of any bigger Jewish organization. The rabbinical hierarchy was a largely informal one based on, I just want to know about the magic part. Beliefs. All right. You get the idea. The Golem remembered 1909 to 1980. And what sold me on this was the description of this. I've heard of the Golem, obviously, from Lord of the Rings, but I just figured it was just a creature. In this book, I am concerned with the single Golem, the most famous one in modern times, the prototype of most of the Galamim in 20th century literature. The incredible Golem of Prague, this strange creature sometimes appears as an ominous, slant-eyed, clean-shaven, bold man in a shapeless gray coat, his face half hidden in darkness. Sometimes he looms 10 feet tall, wearing a huge wig like an inverted wing nut, framing his square face. A five-pointed amulet fastened to his massive chest. Others see him as a white, bearded, mummy-like figure with a green Hebrew letter drawn on his stony forehead. He has even appeared in the shape of a goggle-eyed robot made of gleaming brass nuts, bolts, wheels, and valves. The form changes, but the appeal of the golem in this century to the imagination of artists and their audience is undeniable. It's quite interesting, bruv. The two Judah loaves. Oh, man. What's that say? For Rabbi David and Alicia Nelson, who have contributed so much to Congregation Beth Shalom, which plays an important part in the writing of this book. Well, Arnold did sign it. Well, that's nice. This book was printed by Wayne State University Press. That's half the reason why I got it, but the interesting topic is the main crux. Gothic images of race in 19th century Britain. I have no clue what this one's about, but the title was too good. In pursuing the sources for late 18th and 19th century demonization of racial and cultural difference, this book moves back and forth between the imagined world of literature and the real world of historical experience, between fictional romance and what has been called the parallel fictions of the human sciences of anthropology and biology. The author argues that the Gothic genre and its various permutations offered a language that could be appropriated, consciously or not, by racists in a powerful and obsessively reiterated evocation of terror, disgust, and alienation. But he shows that the Gothic itself also evolved in the context of the brutal progress of European nationalism and imperialism, and absorbed much from them. This book explores both the Gothicization of race and the racialization of the Gothic as inseparable processes. The first section of the book argues that Frankenstein's monster must be read in the context of Caribbean slave rebellions. This is followed by an extended analysis of cannibalism, an important element of 19th century racial discourse, which drew deeply from the images of the monstrous in European popular culture. The book then returns to the literary Gothic genre to explore the revival in the late 19th century of the vampire story, most notably Bram Stoker's Dracula. Bad blood, the unnatural crossing of sexual and racial boundaries, and the threat of a new and secret vampire race leads to an examination of the image of the half-breed and its Gothicization. Finally, an epilogue re-examines the press-driven moral panic over interracial intimacy at the Savage South Africa exhibition of 1899, drawing racial discourse back to a domestic locus of misogyny and ethnic prejudice. I mean, this sounds like a great book. I don't know what year it's from. Hopefully the author's dead so I can read it on YouTube and not get struck down. I agree with the fact that somebody is not underlined, but highlighted numerous passages, but sounds like a great subject. How many pages is it? 250. Nice. All right, that's all, bro. Goodbye.